Hello.
Oh, hey there.
Good evening. I'm Christine.
I'm Jamie. Good
We're
morning.
here. What did you say?
I said good morning.
Good morning. Okay. Well, we don't know what time of day
Well, you
you're
said
at.
good evening.
I don't know why I assume someone's listening to this in the evening. That's
Yeah.
actually a weird assumption.
So I'm going to say good morning just in case.
Okay. Um, this is Blood Over Brighthaven Part 2. We couldn't stop talking about this book, so we had to just split it in half.
Yeah, there's just so much to talk about.
And even though we're splitting it in half, there was still so much to talk about that we had to throw our notes in the garbage. And just at some point, we had to be like, stop it.
Yeah,
Both of us had to stop it, and we just had to throw our notes to the ground.
I think you did yell at me at one point.
I said, just stop, Jamie.
Yeah.
We need to stop.
Because and I would like to say, I am still mad that there was no use of a magic wand. Just going to put that out there, because I think you were probably going to cut that part. So, I need to say it. I thought it was coming and it never did.
Author, not me.
Yeah, I know I should. It seemed like there was going to be use of a magic wand. She never got there. So, a bit disappointed in that.
Okay.
But besides that.
Besides
great.
That, we have
lots of good things to say.
Okay. I guess that's it. Let's talk more about Blood Over Brighthaven.
Yeah. And I feel like people who have read it, which I obviously hope that you have read it, if you're listening to this, would totally get why we couldn't shut up about it.
I assume that if they're listening, they've read it, and they're like,
Maybe some people just find our voices so soothing that they just listen
I
to us
highly
talk.
doubt it, Jamie. I highly doubt it. There's unlimited topics to talk about in this book.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into it.
Whoop whoop.
Okay. So for me, I guess sorry, go ahead.
I do like out of all of that also finding out that magic practitioners were all women. Mostly.
Oh, that was a good tidbit.
Yeah, that was super fun.
Where Tomo was able to get that, was able to be like, yeah, no, women were witches.
Yeah.
That was like the norm where I come from.
Yeah, they were like magic practitioners, like, and I think she says like witch. Yeah, that just like blew her mind.
Yeah.
What? It was all women?
Yeah.
Yeah, bitch, witches.
Well, and you could think of it in some sense as a reader. You're like, oh, this is just another means for Sayona to get power, where she thinks that, but I do think I think that's one way to think of it. But yeah, no, how I thought of it was like Sayona had been in this like tunnel of like, I'm gonna succeed in this world of men.
Yes.
And I'm going to do it within their system. Mm-hmm. And so to hear that Tommel is like, no, there's women, there's witches, and then learning more about it and learning that they have that power as well, and that they were respected and revered and all of that, for her that helped her open her mind and to go, oh, I'm not the exception.
Yeah.
I'm not some like, oh, I'm some lady who's like not like other ladies, and I'm just like super smart, and I can make it in this world where all the men are super. And so it started to open her mind to these other ideas and break down these ideas and structures in her worldview that she needed to. That happens throughout the rest of the book, right?
Yes.
Where she goes like, oh, okay, maybe how we think about women is not actually how I've thought women are supposed to be. I thought I was the exception.
I also didn't like fully get all that from her. Like I did the ego of her being like, I'm the one woman that's gonna do this. Because like with the little girl that wanted her to sign the book, like, do you know what I mean? I think she did.
Like, when I say exception, I mean like she sees how the world is structured in terms of like how women are. Yeah. And they are nurturers, and that they are mothers, and that they are carers, and they're in this place. And so I don't necessarily think that she's like, I'm an alien, but like, I'm the I don't know how else to say it other than exception.
No, I get like that. I think that she's like, I've never felt those things, or like the need to do those things. But then I also think about her like giving that kid with like the book, so that the child knowing like, yeah, that's not just like the only option.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know?
But I get what you're saying.
Okay.
That, like, yeah. Okay, can we go to the big realization?
Yep.
Okay. Everyone is evil.
What? No, that can't be.
The blood.
No.
They understand that the blight is the blight is bad.
That was fucked up though.
It was really fucked up. Tommel threw the spellograph across the room and broke it, and as he should.
Yep.
We realize that the other realm is actually Quen and their territory, and
just 5 minutes away.
Yeah, the energy they're sourcing is the blight. The founding mages let everyone believe that the other realm was somewhere else, but it and that also that it's the Quen's fault. That they brought it upon themselves.
And just like...
rather than inflicted.
So fucked up. Yeah, it was just... Ugh. I hate it. It was messed up. Like, what is wrong with you? And why is this also so real?
Tommel at one point says to Sayona, he says, the blight is not a sickness. Pox is a sickness. Fever is a sickness. Blight is supernatural evil that happens to do exactly what your siphoning spell did to that bush.
Oh my god, when he realizes that, I think I went back and I read it again. I was like, no.
Then shit gets dark.
Yeah.
It gets dark, and she gets mean.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, your people rejected the true God, and by extension, truth itself. And you're like, Jesus Christ.
Oh, she's
Sayona.
Just like...
She says he's ungrateful. She's like, your people died because they deserved it. You brought this on yourselves.
Oh.
You're like, whoa.
She's spiraling.
Her world is coming apart.
I mean, I totally get her reaction at this part, because you're like, I need to cling to this
anything
so
that
badly.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everything you're saying is wrong, even though I know it's not.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say and do whatever so that I don't have to fully realize that this is the truth.
Yeah, it was bad.
I mean, she could have really gone on and just pretended in her mind.
She could have, but she didn't. And so that's kind of like her a little bit of redemption within this book, right?
She does go home and have a full-on meltdown.
She does.
Also, I just want to like just with like the Quen thing and how like looking at the different and how she says that like that, no, it's you guys, and even like looking back when it was his people that like did all that, it just kind of reminds me when, and like I catch myself do like, I don't know why, like sometimes I'll feel like I'll do it, but when you come across people, if they don't speak English or if they have accents and like very much like his, and for some reason people speak to them like they're dumb.
Like they're stupid, but they're the ones that know 2 languages, and you're the dumb actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
And
you assume that they're
not as
smart.
intelligent as you are.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, I just feel like I really remember this from being like in Mexico when I was younger, how people would speak to people.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't imagine having people constantly speak to me like that. Like I'm dumb.
Well, it makes you very angry, which I think later Tommel like addresses like feeling a lot of rage when all this happened, but then he also speaks to like, oh, I've really suppressed all of this for a really long time, that I've done all of these things to adjust and to adapt and to mold in order to survive in this city of Tyran that they have created.
Yeah.
But he had to stay alive.
Yeah. And
because of the things alive. That they have done.
Yeah.
Let me just cover like the major themes that begin in this book.
Okay.
I had started this list, and it wasn't even a list. It was like, it was kind of like a side note of like, okay, what are the themes that are covered? And so there was just a couple things that I put on there first. So it was like misogyny, patriarchy, and then as I kept doing my notes, I was like, this list got so long.
There's
This
she
this
covers
Emma Wang,
like
Wang book is covering so much stuff.
like things within things within things,
Right?
and just yeah.
And so then the list became so long that it became funny. And so it was like misogyny, patriarchy, colonialism, sexism, racism, classism, immigrant experience, white feminism, violent protest, rape culture, power, propaganda, nepotism, boys club, politics led by religion, rigid religious ideology, interracial and interclass dating, appropriation, fraudulent and biased history, suicide, microaggressions. And
that doesn't even cover everything.
And I stopped myself.
Yeah.
And I stopped myself. It could go on. It could go on.
So much.
And there's so many great themes that happen throughout these books. Throughout this book. And I guess maybe just to throw back from the beginning of what I said, it's just like I need it to be wrapped in a role of entertainment, because all of these themes, I'm like, yes, give me more. Teach me lessons. Let's give some examples in a fantasy realm.
Yeah.
I'm down for it. I have seen it before and I want more of it.
Yeah.
But there got to some points within this book where I was like, I feel like I'm reading a nonfiction. I need it to be wrapped real nice in a fiction, or else I'm out. And then I'm skimming.
Yeah, where I feel like how you like posted, I think it was chapter 8, like where that one reads like that chapter did and said so much.
Yes.
Keep that chapter, but then continue and relax it a little bit more, like with where they went out for a drink, and like kind of add more of that.
I literally can't give any specific advice because I'm not an author.
Also, yes, that.
So I'm like, I'm a critic of like, give me more entertainment. Wrap it in a sushi roll of entertainment. But I literally don't know how to do that. I'm just a consumer. And so I can only be like, I've read other books that have these themes and I consume it and I'm like, yes, give me more. I'm entertained. So the only kind of feedback I can give is like, I skimmed and I wasn't entertained. And I don't know how to make it better. I literally don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sure.
And considering the amount of people that gave it 5, 6 stars, with 6 stars is not a thing, I'm like, okay, enough people.
I think it also is because you do deal with it a lot. But it's more of your day-to-day experiences where you have more education on these topics than most people. Right? Like you have more than I do. So I almost feel like I was getting educated and entertained.
I did feel like some points where I was like, I get it.
Yeah.
No, I get it. Move it along.
If you were to write a fantasy novel, this would probably be your like, you know what I mean?
No, I wouldn't.
Well.
Smart. Just kidding.
There was no sex. Do never say that.
Just for listener knowledge, Jamie took a bathroom break, and then we forgot to press record again.
Yeah.
So now we need to reset and swallow our upsetness of having such fantastic conversation about this book, and then now having to be like, wait, what did we say? What part were we at?
What did we even cover?
What did we cover?
Yeah. Well, I don't feel like it'll happen again.
But we're gonna try again. We're gonna try again.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's start
it off with, when you said symbolism, I thought you were gonna say it was a penis thing. Just wanted to start.
That doesn't help me.
No, I just wanted to kick things off with a penis joke.
Penis.
Oh, I had mentioned that when we started talking about when she walked back into the room and they had repainted the ceiling.
Oh.
Yes. So they had repainted the ceiling, and Stravos, his nose, I believe, got smaller. so he looked more attractive. And Siona wondered if this was how...
Attractive, quote unquote.
How attractive he was?
Well, like, what is attractive? So it's, like, attractive, quote unquote, of, like, stereotypical attractive.
Well, it doesn't say the attractive part was just me. Oh,
Okay,
no, it's not.
Jamie.
No. Ignore me. Oh, okay. As the High Mages filed to their seat, and Siona wondered if this was how the mutual history of Tyran and the Quen had fallen so far out of public consciousness, washed out a little more with each coat of paint.
Yeah.
I just put in history in big block letters after that.
Yeah, which are, like we've talked about, like, there's so many pieces of this story that we're not going to be able to get to.
Yep.
One of the pieces to touch on is just how the history is made. Like,
How did we get to the Gabby part? How did we start talking about, like, the missing women and stuff? Now I'm just like...
Oh, maybe that's the part. Yeah. Now we're coming back and realizing the previous conversations we had.
Like, how did we get here?
Oh, yeah. So I just, like we said, there's so many things that we're not going to be able to get to, but one of the things that I wrote down was this note of racism, classism, immigration experience. Like, who gets stories written about them? Who gets outrage? Who gets justice? Who matters?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so you had started speaking about the Gabby Petito coverage. And,
yeah, that's on.
You know, and then that's been covered in lots of places, but now is a Netflix documentary. And then I sort of talked about how in Canada, where we live, missing, murdered, and Indigenous women is a big topic, and how it's been a less investigated part of an injustice that here in Canada we kind of we deal with, and has become more of a spotlight because Indigenous women, just if we talk about, like, a lot of the themes in this book and just a lot of the reflected themes of where we live, and that is really, like, really important.
I remember.
Yeah.
Because you talked about when the bridge collapsed and there was Quen that were killed.
Right.
And I believe, and then Sida's like, I don't remember, and that, like, anyone...
Yeah, Sayona's like, I don't remember that coverage.
Yeah, I don't remember them saying, like, anyone died.
And Tomal's like, yeah, you wouldn't.
It's just Quen, so they're not reported, like, it's not a thing.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of makes the decision that, like, these people aren't human enough.
Right, which just happens to so many Indigenous families where they go, oh, hey, my sister, my mother, my friend, whatever it is missing. And then it just goes like, okay, well, maybe whatever.
And so that, going back to, like, the Gabby thing, where at the end of that, they did, like, touch on it, but it is, like, she goes missing. That happens to her. It's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Anyone else? No. And even when, like we talked about, when they got pulled over because someone called in domestic abuse, and how the officers spoke to Gabby, handled that situation by giving her boyfriend a hotel to stay in for the night, which is like, congratulations, you just won the lottery. I don't know, but how they handled that for her was awful. And yeah, she's a 20-year-old white woman, so she got, like, that's like the VIP treatment, really. If she was anyone else, like, how much worse would they have handled that? Yeah. Now I'm just getting mad and sad.
Let me bring up my quote about residential schools, because I feel like that ties in.
Okay.
I also feel like in our not recording, we didn't do my quote about Emma Wang and religion. So we're going to do that one as well, but I just... Okay, one of the things that really hit home for me in this book was there's this quote that felt like, if we're, like, gonna put a label on it, colonialism, propaganda, but this idea of the Quen bringing on the blight themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, they did it themselves.
It was their fault.
Their fault.
Yeah.
Okay? Which really reminded me of sort of where we live and the idea of residential schools and how that was digested by the general population as like, oh, okay, we're helping them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so the quote is, "The Quen were cursed and living in darkness when Lord Prophet Leon freed the Basant from their control. In his mercy, Leon offered unto their surviving leaders a way out of darkness. Instead, they turned away and sealed their curse in perpetuity when they refused the true God. Now, when the wretched descendants of these tribes under Tyrann, they do as half-souls, tainted by the folly of their forebears. It is our duty as Tyrann to make these wretches whole through re-education and offer unto them every opportunity to redeem their souls through labor. Though in his savagery the Quen shows little gratitude, to civilize them is the moral obligation of the Tyrannian as the chosen of God." Yeah. Yeah.
And just how it's like, just so easily, people will so easily view it as that, or say that it was because of God, or like a religion, or we're making them better. Like, I don't feel like I have like enough education on it and like who I am to really like speak on it, but at the same time it's just so frustrating.
Well, this is the story of Sayona, right?
Yeah.
Which is like, how do you know that your specific view is best? Right? We even get the example of when Tommel is talking about hunting. And he's like, oh, I have this knowledge of hunting. And Sayona is like, oh, okay. Like, you actually, what it all takes to do what you do as a hunter.
Mm-hmm.
That is above and beyond actually what I'm doing as a whatever. Right? So she's starting to see that as...
They're so parallel in so many things. But it's still... Like, she's not good enough because she's a woman. He's not good enough because he's Quen. And yet she's still looking down on him. And so, I don't know. Yeah, there's just so many...
But exactly with what we're talking about, like, with what I'm seeing in this parallel of residential schools is, like, this... My religion is best. My knowledge is best. Without actually... digesting what anyone else has to say.
Yeah.
Which is what happened with residential schools. It's like, we're going to create these schools and its teachings around what we think
is best.
What we think is superior, what we think is best, what we think is as knowledgeable, without actually getting any input.
Yeah. Which
mirrors the end of this book with Tommel and Kara and Sayona when they're talking about, like, okay, we have this knowledge, what do we do with it? And Sayona is like, I'm going to do this. And they're like, don't do that. And she's like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And they're like, maybe you should take in the knowledge of people who, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? It's like...
And it's so many parts where, and then she would be like, Tommel was right. Tommel was right, like this and this. I bet Renthorn is a winker.
He's a winker.
Yeah. He's awful. He's an awful human. So horrible. And I bet he's a winker.
Oh, you don't know.
No, but I bet he's one of those.
Oh, no, I bet 100%. 150%.
Yeah. And just in general, I feel like he's such a good villain.
He's a great secret villain.
He's the best
secret villain because I feel like anyone reading this book, at least as like similar to us as like a white lady, it was like, oh, I know that man.
Yeah.
Who I think is great, but he's not so great.
Well, no, he's not great the entire time, and then he just gets worse, and then he gets absolutely insane. Like when she's like, guys, this is whatever. And he's like, it's beautiful. It's this, like, where he doesn't give a shit. And he's like, yeah, like, look at all of our power. It's amazing. Like, I'm like, oh my God. You're 100% a wanker. I don't know even what part we were at or what's happening, but I do, when she was in the jail, they're like, oh, someone's here to get you. I first totally thought it was going to be Tommel in disguise.
With the mustache?
Yeah. Or like her real dad.
No, you've read too many fantasy books.
I know.
No, that's not
Right?
where this book was going.
I know. I don't know why I thought that's all of a sudden
No.
where it was going to turn. And then that didn't happen. I'm like, well, obviously.
I did like how there was a moment where Tommel didn't kill Jared.
Oh, yeah.
And so Jared says, why won't you kill me? And Tommel says, I watched a woman run herself to death on the belief that there was some good in the high magistracy. She did her best to leave some people hope in the world, for your people and mine. I never, even at the end, I never shared her optimism, but in her honor, this once I'm going to try.
I did like that also.
It was very sweet.
It was.
Yeah.
I liked when she walked into the room, going to her death, and she was like, Archmages. She nods to the council. And then she looked at Paramus. She's like, Father. And everyone's like,
Yeah, she's like really like, I'm going down with the ship.
yeah.
I'm going down.
I actually burst out. Like, I started laughing at that part. I was
Yeah.
like, good for you. And just like the look on his face and everyone's looking at him.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. You're dying too. Another thing I like is that I feel like usually in books, when there is that father that like abandoned, there's more like a thing with it where he gets like a redemption or there's like something that more happens. I like that never happened.
No, I like that too. It
Yeah.
feels more real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just after all, like everything, when she goes there, like all the, like everything that's happened, all the actions and everything, all the men are still like, it's because you're a woman that this happened. Like that was still like the blame that they were putting on it. Like not themselves, not anything. It was still, we let a crazy...
Your vagina did this.
Yeah,
It did this.
You know, we made a woman, a high mate, she just couldn't handle it. Her tiny brain could not handle it. And this is what happens when you let women do things. No, it's not our fault that you're a woman.
Well,
yeah, this was not a happy ending book.
No, but he gets to go back to his land. And so that feels good. But, like, the last lines in these books are...
Okay, before the last lines. I just want to say her dying part. Oh, Siona's only distinction among these mages was that she was a more honest monster than any of them, and that she would die an honest mage of Tyrion, finely dressed and filthy souled, taking with arrogance what was not hers to take. I will turn my gaze, though light burn me. That was kind of like... I just like that she died, really. Normally reading, I don't ever want the main person to die. But like it was going to happen. It needed to happen. If it ended any other way, the book wouldn't be as good.
Right, but it was a bit of like, fuck the system.
Casting gold. It's very ominous.
My issue with this book is the descriptions.
Yeah.
Am I supposed to know what race they are? Did I miss something? Did I miss the color of the skins?
Yeah, because I pictured her black until about a certain percentage in. I was like, oh, I don't think I should be picturing her as black.
Okay, here's the thing. Well, because I waited till now to check in with you too, because when they talk about the Quinn having copper hair, and so I was like, what's copper? And I was like, when I think of copper, I think of like reddish brown, and then I Googled it.
He was a white man for me.
I Googled it, and I was like, okay, that's like a redhead, but I'm like, redheads typically are white people, right?
Yep.
And so I was like, but this is a story of what I think about as like typically racialized folk. So it's like, I'm confused. Was this intentional by ML? Was this like
I feel like it might have been, maybe.
was it intentional to leave out race in other characters? Like
The only
which
time it
makes
was,
me confused to cast them.
I feel like the only time it was really described is when she was looking through and she killed the one person.
Yeah.
And she described her as dark
hadn't
skinned.
seen them. Yeah. So that felt foreign. So I was like, okay, well maybe that's confirmation that Siona is white.
Yes, but I feel like the majority of the book, for
But
some
then
reason,
how is Tommel a redhead?
yeah, I feel like he could be yeah, I don't know.
Okay,
But
let's do our best.
The
Let's
majority
do our
of
best.
the book, I just immediately thought of like one actress when she came up.
Okay, like you said that because I have my original picks. So like the persons that I had for the first little bit that I feel like are really good picks.
Yeah.
That fit the characters really well. But then when I started to realize, oh, this is a story, these are the descriptions, and then I was like, oh, I have this wrong.
Yeah.
So I have those, so I have two different picks.
Okay.
Okay, so my original picks are Georgina Campbell, which you probably really don't know. She was in Broadchurch, like in English.
I know Broadchurch.
Yeah, Broadchurch, and then she was on an episode of Black Mirror. And then Simo Liao, which Marvel Universe.
No, Georgina. Okay, and then who?
Simu.
Oh, a Canadian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good pick. I love him.
Like, those two picks were, like, in my head, like, perfect as characters. And so then when I got more descriptions, then I have, like, my secondary picks, which, I don't know. My secondary picks are Lily Collins.
Okay.
So, like, Emily in Paris. So she's annoying.
Yep.
In that show. But I love that show. If you watch that show.
No.
That show is actually a really good show. It's like it's an easy, fun show.
I've heard, I can't.
You can.
Well, I mean, I can.
You can.
I just have never done it.
Do it.
Okay.
And then my Tommel for her was Cameron Monaghan from Shameless.
God, who is he in shit? Okay, wait.
He's one of the kids.
Which?
He's a redhead.
Oh! Yeah, I also looked at that for him.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had for her immediately, like when it first started talking, Yara Shadi? She's on Blackish, the daughter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's just who, for whatever reason, I pictured immediately. And then eventually I just kind of almost pictured like a young Kate Beckinsale when I realized I was like, maybe I should be picturing a white woman.
So Natalie Imbruglia with her pixie cut?
Yeah. And I was almost frustrated at that part because I was like, I feel like she just kind of kept changing in my mind. And I was like, oh, this like really threw a... But I still kind of kept going back to Yara. Still, like I was just... But for Tommel, I had a man in my mind. He was kind of a made-up man. So I decided to Google like fan casting. And there's not really any on them. There's one. But the one that they have, I was like, yep. Nick Galfus. I can't remember. He's in like some shows and stuff. Okay, but my Brigham, just because I really had an actor for him, who is John Noble.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
That was really the only strong character I had for this, where I was like, no, this is him.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I had Gary Oldman.
Oh.
Meaning I threw that in. Okay. Can we go to MVP?
Yeah.
Okay.
MVP.
Who do you have?
Kara.
Oh my god, that's so funny. That's what I had too. I was like,
Right?
she wins.
She wins.
She's the best.
Yeah. The
I
stabbing.
had Kara, and then my second was the Quinn.
Yeah, that's good. I feel like Kara. I liked when she tried to stab her. She was the entertainment. And also very much like a voice of reason who didn't give a shit. I feel like I wish we could talk about that relationship in general more, but just, I think she really was like the light in the book.
Okay, we're gonna leave you here with Blood Over Brighthaven. It's over. It's done. Go home. Get out of here.
You try and sleep
Get
and not
lost.
think about this anymore.
Stop it. We're not talking anymore. We're done.
That's a lie. I'm going to turn it off and keeps talking about
But
it.
also, before you go to bed, could you please follow us on social media?
Yes.
On Instagram and TikTok. And wherever you're listening to us, please give us 5 stars, a comment, a follow. It's incredibly helpful. Yeah.
And tell your family.
And tell your aunties and your your uncles.
Nope, just the aunt. No.
Cousins.
Cousins.
College roommate.
Did either of us have college roommate?
No. No, we lived in a lonely... No, you did. I lived in a lonely apartment.
Yes.
Yeah, you had college roommates, but it wasn't in a dorm, which... No, you still went to college and had roommates, so it still counts.
That's true.
Yeah.
So, okay, yes. So
okay,
then,
okay,
you're
bye!
You're allowed to tell them.